I didn't do this with my friend that does it all the time.
No?
I'm a loser.
Yeah.
You know what's going in economics?
Play bad, run good.
It's alright, because I took out one hand from him last time, but now I'm putting it back in.
What are we doing now?
Yeah, I know.
If you hadn't had a hand, you would have just called the $2.
Fuck.
Oh, don't be. Come on, look.
So we're back at it here, back for another meetup game at Miroleon Live. As always, super great time. Their hosting is always amazing. They've actually bought us food most of the times that we've been there, so pretty fun atmosphere and always a good time. So we come in, 1-3 game as always, and a couple of tables running. I usually bounce back and forth between the tables, so everyone kind of like gets a chance to hang out with me, ask questions if they have them about the vlog or whatever, and just overall hang out. But you know, everyone's kind of there to hang out with each other. It's not all about me. And if you guys haven't made it to a meetup game yet, I would definitely recommend it. And with that, let's get into some of the meetup game hands from last time. So this first hand's a straddle pot to $6. I tell people this all the time. Meetup games are often a little bit loosey goosey, a little bit different from what you guys might be used to seeing on a regular basis. So don't be like too shocked if you come in and that's the case. So this is a straddle pot to $6. I'm sitting on $500 and I open with Queen Jack offsuit in middle position to $21. The cutoff, the small blind, and the straddle all call. So we go 4 ways to a flop of Jack 10 4 rainbow. Checks to me and I c-bet $40 pretty much to get value from some draws. The cutoff calls and the small blind check raises to 110. I think you could make a case for folding right here, but it being the meetup game and all, I decide to find the call here and see what happens on the turn. The turn's an 8 of diamonds, and he now just shoves, which I believe was around $200, $250, something in that neighborhood. Could have been more, maybe like $300. I honestly don't remember. I didn't write it down. That's my bad. But I basically was thinking that there are plenty of hands that are draws and some that are like gutters that pick up flush draws that I'm still ahead of. And I don't block any of the flush draw type hands that might do this. In reality, we're still playing 1-3, so I'm probably just not supposed to give people so many bluffs in their ranges here, but I just couldn't help myself here. End up calling it off, and we lose to Jack 10 on an 8 river. So pretty quickly we end up in this game for 1,500, which if you saw the last meetup game, maybe shouldn't be that much of a surprise. I got in for a very similar amount then, and yeah, off to a kind of bad start here. So these hands are a little bit later in the night. We're now playing 6-handed. I think still 2 tables running though. I'm sitting at about $400 and I open red pocket 9s to $15 under the gun. Both blinds call. We go 3 ways to a King 10 4 all heart flop and it checks around. Don't see much reason to c-bet here. The turn 5 of hearts gives me a flush and it checks to me, so I go ahead and bet $25. The big blind calls and we go heads up to a river deuce of hearts, and there's a flush actually on the board and we have the 9 of hearts in our hand. He checks, and I figure at this point, if he's a non-believer on the turn, he's probably going to be a non-believer on the river, and I can go for some value here against almost anything because there's a flush on the board now, and he'll think that he's chopping with my bluffs, basically. So I bet $75. I get the tant call and get shown Jack 7 of hearts, so he actually flopped it and just maintained a better flush than us throughout the hand. Yeah, I mean, I don't really hate my bet, but might be a little bit hard to get called on the river even though there's a flush on the board, but maybe I'm just being a little results oriented there. In this next hand, I only have about 255 in front of me and I open Queen Jack offsuit on the button to $20. Poker Ray, who you might remember from the last video, he's got a vlog as well. He's been dabbling in some 5-card PLO. You should definitely check out his channel. Good stuff there, funny guy, and always enjoy his company at the meetup game. He goes ahead and defends his big blind, and the flop comes down Jack 7-5 with 2 hearts. He check calls $35, and we go heads up to a turn, which is an offsuit 8. Well, offsuit to the front door flush, but backdoor flush draw is there. The river's a queen of clubs, and he leads now for $65. I tank and end up shoving for 200, and he ends up just tank folding. I honestly don't really remember what I was thinking about in this hand. Like, I'm looking back at it, trying to figure out, like, did I have something? Did I not have something? Oh, wait, no, I have queen jack in this hand. I was thinking I had nines. I was like, am I bluffing with nines? No, obviously we make top two on the river. Pretty easy jam for value, even though it certainly looks a little bluffy because it doesn't look like we would ever do this with one pair, and we probably wouldn't. But yeah, I mean, our hand's so strong, can't really do much else. In this next hand, $400 in our stack, and the cutoff opens to $25. By the way, you can see like these open sizes. These are not all straddle pots, but people are opening at 20, 25. That's just kind of how the meetup games tend to go overall. So the cutoff opens at 25 here, and in this hand, I have pocket nines in the small blind, red pocket nines once again. I call and we go heads up to a flop where he c-bets 25 on jack 4 deuce rainbow. I make the call. I don't think we have much choice here. Our hand's a little too strong to just let go. The turn is the 5 of spades, which is the second spade on board. I check and he c-bets 55. Again, I think we beat a little bit too much, so I go ahead and make the call. The river's a 4 of diamonds. I check and he bets 110 now. At this point, I just don't really feel like this player would necessarily value bet a jack 3 times, even ace jack. Maybe he goes for overpairs 3 times, but I felt like that was probably it. And there were just so many things that he could have just kind of lost his mind with here and kept betting that I go ahead and make a little bit of a light call here. And I am actually good against king, queen offsuit, but by any normal game standards, this would probably be too light of a call down. But at the meetup game, I don't really hate it. In this next hand, we're 8-handed. I think we're down to the last table for the night here. I now have $700 in front of me, and it's a straddle pot to $6 once again. In middle position, Poker Ray opens to 22. The small blind calls, and I call in the big blind with 6-5 of hearts. We go multi-way to the flop because the straddler also calls. Flop comes down 10-7-3 with 2 diamonds. The small blind checks, and I decide to make a weird lead for $50 and only middle position calls. I don't remember what the turn was, and I don't have the action down here. I assume that I either gave up or just like bet turn and won and then something else happened because I have $1,000 in my stack now for the next hand. I didn't have any hands written down in between, so sorry about that. These meetup games, there's a lot going on. There's a lot more talk than in a normal casino game. And honestly, guys, it takes a lot of energy to take notes on hands like mid-session, I mean, not mid-hand, but like in between hands all the time. So, this happens sometimes where I miss something and I didn't even notice until I got halfway through my notes. So sorry about that. If anyone remembers what happened in that hand, feel free to post it in a comment down below. In this next hand, we've got about $1,000 in our stack, so I think I won the last hand, whatever it was that happens. Gage limps in from under the gun. He's another guy with a poker vlog. He's been to a couple of the meetup games. Ray makes it $18 in under the gun +1, and I'm on the button with ace-7 offsuit. We are like still 7 or 8 handed here. I definitely don't have to call this hand. This is a little bit of a stretch, but I do go ahead and decide to flat the button. The small blind calls and Gage calls under the gun, so we go 3 ways to a flop of ace, jack, 5, two-tone. Ray ends up c-betting $45, and I'm the only caller. The turn is a jack of hearts, and I call, once again, a bet of 135. The river is a deuce. It goes check, check. Don't think we can really beat anything here. And I actually beat ace-5, so he flopped 2 pair, but the turn counterfeit him. He said after the fact he definitely didn't like his turn bet, and I kind of agree. It definitely wasn't a spot he needed to bet. I think it's one of those situations where because you had such a strong hand on the flop, you kind of feel obligated to keep betting turn, even though in reality you can't really get value from worse hands now that you're counterfeit. In this last hand, Ray opens to $22 on my straddle with about $230. I have black pocket nines, and I make it $65. He shoves, and I go ahead and make the call. I was pretty much expecting some pretty light jams from him here in the last hand or so of the night. He does have ace-6 of diamonds here. We ship him the pot here. I flop a set, but he flops a flush on 9-8-3 all diamonds. The turn is king of hearts and the river is the 6 of hearts, so we can't boat up here, can't improve, and unfortunately we lose that last hand of the night. But got it in a pretty good spot, and again, shipping pots to Poker Ray. Can't be too upset about that, I suppose. And all in all, in for 1,500, out for 1,115. So not nearly as bad as our last showing at the meetup game, but still a loss, still on a little bit of a losing streak here in the cash games, and trying to turn it around. But, you know, with the meetup games, it's not really as much about profit. It's way more about fun, camaraderie, hanging out, playing cards together, and just having a good time. So with that, remember, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Leave me a comment down below letting me know what you thought, and share this video with your friends. I'll see you guys in the next one.